You've been waiting on this moment since episode 1. Let's get into it. It's safe to say King Viserys held on as long as he could, finally just being ready for his life to end after seeing his family together one last time. Opinions on Viserys are mixed. Some believe he was a weak king who was incompetent and allowed everyone around him to take advantage of him, while others see Viserys as a more measured ruler who sought counsel from those around him, knowing they were playing at their own ambitions. He's much closer to the latter, but the first still applies. Viserys' one major weakness was his daughter Rhaenyra. He lived in denial of her mistakes and then defended her even more strongly. He was her shield until his last day. With his passing, she is left without the armor she's had for over a decade and a half. There's been a little confusion about Viserys' last scene with Allison. I will attempt to clear this up for anyone who may have misunderstood what happened. Viserys, as was shown in this episode and in previous episodes, was losing his mental faculties. He didn't know he was talking to Allison. Instead, believing he was speaking with Rhaenyra as he had the previous night, he begins talking about the prophecy. Allison takes Viserys' meaning of Aegon as him speaking about their son. He goes on to talk about the Song of Ice and Fire and the dream he had and the prince that was promised. Part of the reference here for Allison is to the conversation they had when their son Aegon was 2 years old, and they had a conversation about a dream Viserys had about having a son. He questioned whether he was wrong in naming Rhaenyra his heir because he felt guilty about pushing Aemma to keep trying for a son. Allison takes his apologies to mean that he felt he was in the wrong and that his dream was right. She will feel that in his last moments he was convinced his dream was true, that their son Aegon is the prince that was promised, that he must sit on the Iron Throne in order to save the realm. When Viserys says, "You must do this," Allison takes this as her husband's dying wish, one she will fight to see fulfilled even with how little respect she has for that son. This is my reading of that scene. It's pivotal in shaping what's to come. On to maybe the most powerful scene of the entire season. You thought Allison entering the engagement party was something. Viserys literally told Otto to hold his milk of the poppy. Viserys' entering the throne room was such a powerful scene. Lucid after what seemed like years of being kept bedridden, he donned his mask, his crown, and his royal garments to take the throne one last time. Shot perfectly, the scene took exactly as long as it should have. There were cuts as we didn't see every step, which worked. It was a long enough walk to the throne to drive home the point, to carry the weight that it needed to. It led to my favorite line of the episode. As Viserys passed Otto, he whispers, "I will sit the throne today." Now Otto came down from the throne as soon as the doors opened and he saw the king. These words made more powerful because of why he was doing it. His daughter Rhaenyra went to his bedside the night before begging him to save her this one last time. When his crown fell from his head as he was ascending the steps, was there anyone you wanted more to help him than Daemon? While his actions and his motives may have been self-interested, it's also clear Daemon loved his brother, despite his rebellious attitude over the years. While watching Daemon slice through Vaemon was great, it was also sad. Vaemon was right, but was outmaneuvered and had very few if any other options. While it seems most viewers are heavily in the camp of Rhaenyra, it's tragic what she's leaving in her wake. Have any of you ever asked yourself why there's no House Valyrian on Game of Thrones? This is why. Rhaenyra's actions since she married Lenore led to what ends an entire house. Lineage, legacy, bloodline, all of it. Vaemon is fighting for everything people hold dear. His family name, his family's birthright, and his family home. He's watching it be dismantled in front of him at the whims of a woman he believes murdered his nephew so she could marry her uncle. If you were in that situation, you wouldn't think Rhaenyra was so perfect as she was destroying your family to save her own. I was hoping one of Rhaenyra's children would rebel against her the way she rebelled against her father. Again, people who love Rhaenyra don't admit her hypocrisy. When she was younger, she didn't want to get married. She didn't want to have children. She bucked at the responsibility of her house and her position, arguing that she didn't want to be married off to serve the political motives of her parents. Fast forward to adult Rhaenyra. She's going to have what, 6 children? Now having a lot of children doesn't mean anything. That's just a funny irony of her not wanting any when she was younger and now having more than any woman around her at court. The hypocrisy comes here. What does Rhaenyra do every time she finds her back against the wall? Before hoping her father will bail her out, that is. This episode marks the second time she's tried using her children as political pawns to cover up and deal with her mistakes. The first time was when she tried marrying her eldest son Jace to Allison's only daughter Helaena, trying to put Allison in a position of having to defend her first 3 sons' legitimacy. The second time was in this episode where she once again, with her back against the wall, went to Rhaenys offering her children as a solution to her political problems. Rhaenyra thinks the burden of being the heir is such a hard cross to bear when she herself created most of the problems she's faced up until this point. That being said, she didn't actually need Rhaenys' permission or blessing to marry two of her sons to Daemon's daughters. She was just using that as a way to try to gain favor with Rhaenys. While this plan does carry on the Valyrian name and a small portion of its bloodline through Baela and Rhaena, it's a far cry from who their family was. Rhaenyra, ending family lines and yet beloved like she's done no wrong. Disgusting. Since I've leaned towards Team Allison, I must touch on her actions in this episode. I would be willing to bet that many more parents than would admit to it would do something like she did, especially in that world. Aegon is a piece of garbage. However, he's also Allison's son and potential heir to the Iron Throne. In that world, her choices are to sweep the sexual assault under the rug, or potentially have her son made a eunuch or sent to the wall. It's unlikely such a punishment would be handed out to a prince. And well, let's also not forget the class system in this world. Allison no doubt looks down on this woman as lesser than her, so tragedies that befall peasants and servants don't matter as much to royalty. That being said, Allison actually could have used this as a means to remove Aegon from the line of succession and replace him with Aemond, who most would agree is more to Allison's choosing. Lastly, Paddy Considine's performance on House of the Dragon was a masterpiece. This is an award-worthy performance, capped off with a final episode for him that brought tears to fans' eyes who didn't even like his character throughout most of the season. I think this week we were all Team Viserys. What did you think of this week's episode? Let me know down in the comments below.